been needing to do this topic for like so long. I feel like it sounds bad in a sense because like of course we all want to be special, right? So in some ways it's kind of like, well, like I do want to get results, I am special. But equally it's such an important topic because what so many people do is they build their business trying to get special results instead of realizing that that is actually what is keeping them from getting the results that they want. I see this time and time again. I cannot tell you how much I believe this is one of the things that keeps so many women entrepreneurs from getting the actual like momentum and results going that they really, really need and want. So we're gonna get into that today. Hey Julie, thanks for being here. As always, as a thank you for being here, you can just any comment gets you entered to win one of my products or a $100 gift card. I just appreciate you spending your time with me. And I know it's like no small thing to do. So here's the thing. If you know me, you know I believe in data. And equally, I have a lot of clients that get like don't make sense results. I feel like one of the things I pride myself in a lot, is having clients that get really amazing conversion rates that talk or that really connect with their audience and that really see above industry standard conversions. And I will say, I'm not showing up on your desktop. The internet is a vibe today. Oh my God. Same. I couldn't get any of this to work. Hey, Allison. Lily said, hi, I'm so excited to be here. I listened to last week's and it was great. Thank you for being here, Lily. I know, Sarah, I tried to get this working the way I normally do and I couldn't get it to work like that. This is my like pivot. But I feel like everything's down and not working today. It's a weird place to be. So anyway, I definitely pride myself on like, okay, my clients get amazing results, especially as it relates to conversions. And equally, I will tell you that I have never, ever sat on a coaching call and been like, let's try for way above industry standard rates. Sometimes we're going, hey, how can we get the best conversions? And when we optimize for that, we do end up getting way above industry standard. But like that wasn't the goal. And I know that sounds kind of silly in some ways, but it's so important to note that. I'm gonna talk more about why in a second, but we spend so much time striving, I think, in our space for kind of this like big overnight success, big special result that we completely miss that the success that you want could easily be built by getting like industry standard conversion rates, multiplying over time, and really seeing those then snowball into something that like, yes, looks like overnight success, or yes, is a doesn't make sense result, but it will actually make sense when you look at the data. So I come armed with numbers and examples to bring you today on this because I feel like we need to kind of see this really mapped out to understand that. But the first thing I want to say, well, maybe I should do the examples. No, fine. I'll say this first. The first thing I want to say, and then we'll get into like numbers examples, is we have to recognize that so much of this is sometimes an ego thing. Like we want to be the special one. We want to be the one that like got the most insane results in the quickest amount of time. And we think that that will make us feel a certain way or will make our audience think a certain way about us. And ultimately, like none of that really matters. I mean, sure, it sounds sexy to say like I did XYZ in my business and got this number in this amount of time, right? But like you don't want that to be like the entirety of your marketing or the the whole crux of your business is that you got this result in this quick of time. Like trust me, that is not the business game you want to play. Like you want a business that is far, far, far more stable, has a far better foundation than that. We all know this. So when we try sometimes to go for that, like, oh, but people should be buying like this, or I should be getting this insane result, what we're sometimes missing is that that's like more of a personal thing that we have to deal with as it relates to like mindset or where we're putting our values or where we see our worth or it's some ego stuff or whatever, which like we all have that. There's nothing wrong with that. But we have to see it for what it is instead of seeing it as the best business strategy. The best business strategy is not trying to shoot for these random outlier numbers. Like your chances of success with that are low. Do you want to spend the majority of your business time shooting for numbers that you are far, far, far less likely to hit? Or do you want to spend it shooting for numbers that you actually have a really good chance of hitting that when built over time will get you the exact result you want? Like, it's so obvious when we say it like that, but I don't think we often approach strategy like that. And that's why I wanted to like talk numbers today, because I think it really helps to see like, oh, if I approach strategy like this and I really start hitting these numbers, I can see how insane my growth could be. And then again, it will be something that you could look back on and be like, oh my gosh, that growth didn't make sense. It's like, but it did. But it did. Okay. Are you guys with me? Hey Liz, good to see you. Okay, so here's some math. I want to math some math with me. I almost never take notes for a live stream, but I took notes for the math because I didn't want to be like sitting here on my calculator with you guys, because that's how bad it is at this point. I can't math in my head. Okay, so here's the example I want to give. Say you got 100 people into a conversion event and you converted that at 7%. That is a very reasonable conversion rate. Some people would say, oh, try for 10%. Some people would say, well, industry standard has gone down. A lot of people are getting more like 2 to 3. Fine. We're going to go right in about the middle, especially for 100 people where it's not like a huge thing. Let's assume those people have some warmth with you, right? We're going to go 7%. So if you get 100 people in a conversion event, like a masterclass, a webinar, a challenge, a training, a private podcast, like insert thing, and you made 7 sales on a $5,000 program, you just had a $35K launch, right? If you just did that 4 times a year, you have a $140K a year business with just 28 clients the whole year. Okay, that's just on a really normal conversion rate. It's on really like, I don't want to say like easy to get numbers, but like it's on very like, we're not talking 1,000 people or whatever. We're talking about if you can run a conversion rate 4 times a year, right? And get 100 people to come to that and get a 7% very like normal standard conversion rate for that, you're making 140K. You're serving 28 clients. Great. So what a lot of people will now do in that case is they will try to make that conversion rate higher. So they'll be like, no, I wanted that to be 14%. Like I want to double my conversion rate. And they'll obsess over that, right? And they'll obsess over like, how can I get 14 people? And so then what might happen is like, say they even get a little closer to that next time. Say they obsess over conversions and they maybe even get 10% the next time. Okay, so that's 3 more sales. That's good, right? 3 more sales is cool. And then they obsess over it some more. Well, guess what's going to start happening? They're going to start seeing that conversion rate drop lower and lower and lower and lower each time because they were so obsessed with getting a doesn't make sense conversion rate that they forgot that they need to grow their audience. They forgot they need to bring in a lot more people, right? And so what's going to happen is that you're going to see a declining value in that, right? If you start trying to like make this thing so much better, when you can only move the needle so much on 100 people at an event, if you're already getting really good standard conversions, right? Again, you might even be able to do it for 1 round, but after that, you're going to start to see a decline. And that's where people get so frustrated in their business, right? They're like, oh my God, like what is wrong with my business? It's moving backwards, like everything's wrong. Instead of going, okay, cool. What if I wasn't trying to get the most insane conversion rate ever? What else would I have focused my time on? So what you could have focused your time on is, well, what if I could get 200 people in this event and still convert at 7%? Well, guess what happens? You just made 70K. If you do that 4 times a year, now you have a 280K a year business. You still only serving 56 clients, right? So if it's like, this is about like, don't try to be special. Try to put your time into the most strategic place. If you're already getting 7%, you might be able to get 10% next launch with doing nothing else, even if you did just up your connection and your, like content just as like you understand your audience better. But do you guys see what I mean? Like there's one path where you're like so obsessed with trying to be like the highest converting coach out there or something, right? And actually what it's probably going to lead you to is down a spiral where you think something is very wrong with your business and you think your business is declining and all this stuff is happening, that's like not even happening. You just are trying to convert the same 100 people at better and better rates. Like it just isn't going to work that well, Or you can go, yeah, 7%. Like I can be okay with that. What does it look like to now get 200 people into the next event and double that? This is where we get so stuck sometimes because we want to be like the best of the best of the best. And it absolutely makes us do things in business that are so driven by that are not driven by strategy. Hey Liz, good to see you. Lily said, I think as a beginner, what I have trouble with selling higher ticket programs 500 plus is thinking probably my audience can't afford that. I'm serving physical therapist and it's not the highest paid job. How do I get past that SOS? Okay, let me write that. I'm gonna put that in my notes and we'll get to that in just a second. Okay, I got it. Megan said, put your time in the most strategic place. Yes, exactly. Julie said, yes, it's also that our ego gets wrapped up in the perfect rather than what's smart. Exactly, right? It's so hard, I think, especially as us, like high performer, high achiever, to be like 7% is okay. But what if I could have gotten 10? I know someone who just got 10 on their launch. And if I could have gotten 10, I would have made X amount more money. And it's like, we really have to zoom out and not do that. Like there's a difference between comparing to industry standard and a difference comparing to like Susie, our friend who had a launch last week and like she got 10% and we got 7. And so now we're obsessing over that. Or, you know, we've heard that someone else did and so we feel like we should. Like that, like competitive high achiever in us sometimes really can work against us in these ways where we're chasing this thing that doesn't even mean that much and it's not ultimately going to get us the result. So again, let's use this client example that we're talking about. Is like this person could have launched that same program 5 more times and on the 5th launch they'll be like, oh my god, I'm so much worse than when I started. I'm getting a 3% conversion rate now. This is so bad. Like, why is everything falling apart in my business? And it's like, because I was trying to achieve this goal that I heard someone else getting without the context behind it, without understanding like why that made sense for that person, or what might have led to that person getting that, or what launch, you know, were they on their first launch or their 15th or whatever. So we really have to be careful about what we're chasing. We really do have to familiarize ourselves with like, what is a good enough number that lets us then go solve another problem? Yeah, comparison trap is such a thing. Exactly. Lacey said, I just realized this looking at a masterclass conversion actually was converting well for the number of people who went through, just not a lot of people clicked the page. So I was like, maybe I need more people to the landing page. Yes, Lacey, exactly. Megan said other people's numbers can be such a comparison trap. Totally. But like, Lacey, perfect example. This is what so many people would do. Then they obsessively tweak their masterclass or whatever. And it's like, no, the masterclass was working. Like, why did we spend all this time changing a thing that was working? We have to change the right thing. But it can be so easy to do that. One, because sometimes that's more comfortable for us. So sometimes we get stuck there. But honestly, most of the time it is this like high achiever or comparisonitis or ego-based trap that makes us be like, I must be the best of the best. Right? And in trying that, we so often end up tanking really good funnels and successful businesses. If you guys have heard me talk about this at all, definitely if you're my client, you know this, because you're like, we hear you. I am so conservative around this shit. Like I am such an if it's not broke, don't fix it kind of coach. And I feel like I do so much coaching around like that is already converting good enough. Put the fucking email down, stop it. Let's go over here and get you better numbers by solving this problem. And sometimes like I'm sure my clients can be like, yes, sometimes you're very annoying about that. And equally, most of them will thank me for that later because they're like, yeah, I can see how when I actually shifted this thing instead of trying to be like, oh, I have 1,000 people at my event or whatever. Because even that, like some people will do the opposite of what I just talked about. All they try to do is get volume. And it's like, okay, why are we getting more volume if we're not hitting our conversion numbers with the volume we have? Like we need to go up the conversion numbers. Who cares if we have 1,000 or 2,000 if we're only going to convert them at 2%? What's the point? Like at that point, we're just like churning and burning through people. So, you know, it's like two sides of the same coin. Like one person might be chasing conversions over and over endlessly. Person might be changing like numbers over and over endlessly. But at the end of the day, like we really have to start going, what is standard? What makes this profitable? What is reasonable and acceptable here? And then if we can get all pieces of the puzzle or of the funnel working at those numbers, you can build so much fucking momentum from that. And we'll talk about that in a second, but I don't see what y'all are saying. Lacey said, totally, I thought it was doing terrible. So again, why data is so important to look at. Heck yes. So celebrating you for being able to have that like neutral mentality of like, wait, this is not what the data is telling me. Like, let me pivot. Julie said, but this case is interesting because I've been training myself to compare myself to my previous numbers. And what you're saying is that we need to back up and have the discernment to know which of our numbers we need to beat. Exactly. Even always trying to beat your own numbers is not a good game, because sometimes your numbers are fine or good or great even. You know what I mean? Like, for example, let's use this. Actually, I'll use one of my clients as an example. We were talking about this recently. She has a funnel that's converting at an absolutely insane rate. Like, it's like 12% on an evergreen funnel. It's bananas, but it's almost like working too well for her. Like, she's like, what else should I be doing? Like, should I be doing something else? Like, I feel like maybe I should re-record the intro of the webinar. I feel like maybe I should da. Like, she's almost like antsy because she's like, what else should I be trying for? Meanwhile, she's making, 50K a month off this evergreen funnel. Like, it is not a problem. And so like my coaching to her is like, you should touch absolutely nothing right now. There might come a time, as it does with all businesses, funnels, et cetera, where like, that 12% starts to decline. We'll look at it then, but you're already significantly above industry standard. For us to over architect this webinar to try to get it to 14% would probably break it, to be honest. So even like looking at your own numbers sometimes isn't the best way to do it, only because it can make you take a thing that's not broke and fix it so much that it breaks, right? Like, that's this client. Like, so much of our work lately has been, stop it, focus on something else, go over here, do this, leave this alone, and she's so wise, she knows that too, of course, but like, we really need to be reminded of that sometimes. Lily said, yes, I've been starting to look at data and it's mind-blowing how much clarity it brings. Totally, right? And especially when you can go, and obviously like, industry standard is always changing a bit, but when you can know what that is and benchmark that, if you have a funnel that is, you have like industry standard conversion rate on your landing page, you have industry standard show up rate, you have industry standard, click-through rate, you have industry standard sales page views, you have industry standard conversion rate. Like, if you have a funnel that has those things, I promise you can scale it and make a lot of money off of it. Like, I've never seen a funnel that was checking all those boxes that we couldn't scale and make really good money off of, right? So, I mean, like, there's always something to do, right? If you have one checking all those boxes, obviously you still need people coming into the funnel. But you feel more confident getting people into the funnel. Like, that's when you feel so confident spending on ads, because you're like, this just works, right? So I say all that to say, like, if you can do all of those things, that momentum will take itself. Like, that funnel will keep funneling and put you in a really good position. If you're so hyper fixated on one area of it, and or you think that somehow you're the exception to the rule and your funnel should be whatever, getting a 12% conversion in the first 3 months it's been live, it won't happen. This client that I'm talking about did have a 12% conversion within the first few months that it was live. I promise you, she did not try for that. We tried to optimize every angle we could. She put a lot of heart and energy into it. She knows her audience really, really well. So that happened, but it wasn't the goal. The goal was can we hit industry standard on all of this? And so sometimes you will go well beyond that because you're doing a fantastic job of what you're doing. But otherwise, what most people do that ultimately go on to have so much success with this is they just go, we got to hit our benchmarks. And if we're hitting our benchmark on every front, we're going to have a really easy time scaling this. And if we're not, it's going to be really hard. And it's so neutral. It's not an ego thing. It's not does my audience love me enough to convert kind of bullshit that our brains can do. It's literally just, do the numbers make sense? Does the math? If I put more traffic into this funnel, do I know reasonably well how it will convert and come out on the other side? You are almost unstoppable when you can do that. And then you make minor tweaks as appropriate. Say you have all that and then you push a lot more people through the funnel and you go, oh, our landing page is down in terms of conversions a little bit. Let's fix that. Oh, okay, great. Like our sales page is now looking a little low on the conversions. How do we tweak that? Like that is it. Jen and I ran Dateable for a couple of years. How long did we have Dateable? 2.5 years maybe? While Jen has a very big career. I always say it like that because I feel like she like underplays herself so much, but she is like a very important human in her Fortune 1 company. And I like have this whole business. I'm a one-on-one coach, right? Like that takes a significant amount of time. Like how we continued to have success with Dateable 2.5 years and to be able to sell it is because all we kept doing was this. Like we didn't have to have these long meetings. We didn't have to have these constant conversations. We were just like, yep, everything's on track, cool, moving on. Or we were like, oh, actually it's really interesting. Over the last month, our sales page conversions have gone down by X. Like what do you want to do to switch the sales page? Okay, great, moving on. Like that's how we were able to just keep the ship sailing on that business while we had other really big things happening, is because all we kept doing was going like, cool, are we at standard here? What do we need to do to tweak it? If we are, great, moving on. And it just was so neutral and it took so much less time because of that. It really can be that simple. Lily said, what do you think are the main keys to hit our industry standard for conversion? Let's say from a landing page, sales page. I spend a ton of time in messaging, but I'm noticing people convert better when I send them directly to the checkout page versus reading the sales page. So what I would say is like, those little nuances of your audience are really important. And sometimes they make a really big difference. So for example, like obviously messaging is like 101 in terms of like, is the funnel working? But if you're like, I think it is, sometimes these little tweaks make a really big difference of like, are we sending them direct to checkout? Are we sending them to the sales page? Or with one of my clients recently, we've been experimenting with a much shorter sales page and it's actually worked really, really well. We're like the kind of hypothesis we were testing is like her audience is just super, super busy and overwhelmed. And so when they were getting like they wanted the thing, but they were getting to a very long sales page and it was adding to the overwhelm. So we significantly shrunk her sales page and that's made a bigger difference. It's not like we changed the messaging or like the avatar or anything like that. So you really do want to pay attention to like these little points in your funnel, especially if it's like mostly optimized and you're like, yeah, messaging's really on point. This feels really good. Most numbers are hitting. We just need to do some tweaks here. Those kind of things can make a big difference. Typically, you don't want to like rejig the whole thing. But the other piece of advice I would give is like how do I want to say it? Make sure that's what you have to tweak, I guess is what I would say. Like landing page and sales page conversions are both at really different points in the funnel. So if it were me, I wouldn't even be optimizing those at the same time. Like I would always be optimizing the earliest break in the funnel. So like, I'm not saying you know this, but just as an example, like if someone's landing page, or I'm not saying this is true for you, Lily, but just as an example, if someone's landing page was like really significantly below industry standard, I would be optimizing that before I was too worried about the sales page, unless we were like actively in a big launch or something. Because like I would want to fix the first part of that funnel, right? If you think about it like a literal funnel, if there's leaks at the top and you're like losing a ton of water at the top, just less is getting down to the bottom and it's like less important and it's less easy to optimize there. So that's the other like feedback I would give is like really take it in these small chunks. Like where is the water leaking out of the bucket, so to speak, right? And like what's the earliest place that happens and how do we fix that first? Again, I think it's, and I'm not saying you're doing this, Lily, it's just like fodder for the conversation, but like I think for some people, we tend to like hyper fixate on something that we think seemed important. Like we had a past coach that like was obsessed with sales pages or something. And so we can like over index on like, no, but my sales page needs to be really, really, really good and da-da-da. And it's like, okay, but is that actually the break in your funnel? Is that actually a problem right now? And that's where we like sometimes have that like I need to be special thing. Like I need to have the best sales page or I need to whatever. And, or even that, I can totally identify with this, that kind of like high achiever, sometimes like hyper vigilance of like, if you know the sales page could be converting better, it can feel so frustrating to leave it alone while you fix the landing page, for example. Because that's like really uncomfortable to be like, well, that could be doing better. But it's like, well, maybe that would be doing better if we were getting more of the right people through this landing page. So we have to wait on it. And the waiting sometimes can like feel crushing to us, or it feels like it doesn't make sense, or it feels like, you know, why shouldn't I just fix all of this at once? And the answer is because you don't know that it's a problem, right? It only feels like a problem in your brain, but the problem is happening over here earlier on. And so if we fix that earlier on problem, maybe it's still a problem, maybe it's not, let's figure it out. But like, this is where you don't want to overcorrect, because the overcorrections makes it really hard to tell what data is real and what's not. It's a lot more work to overcorrect. It's how people get really burnt out and overwhelmed in their business, where they're constantly in overcorrection mode. And then they don't actually have like really good data from that. And so it's hard to see, like, did that overcorrection help? Did it hurt? Was it worth it? And then they just did a bunch of work that they can't even tell if it was worth it or not. Like, that is maddening in business. Katie's speaking to me. Hey, Adrian, good to see you. Like, that's that example I used at the beginning, where like you trying to over optimize your conversion rates leads to a thing where you're 5 launches deep wondering why your conversion rate keeps getting shittier, even though you're trying to optimize it. It's like, because you're just hammering the wrong problem and you're overcorrecting for it, and you're making it mean something that it doesn't. And so that's really what I would think about. Like, what's the earliest break and how do you adjust from there? Obviously, the one caveat to that is like, I wouldn't just say like, oh, well, the earliest break is traffic, so let me just throw an assload of traffic into a funnel I don't know is working. Like, that's slightly different. But as it starts to like people engaging with you, what's the earliest break? Like, is it at a landing page? Is it at a masterclass? Is it, they drop off when emails get sent, or they don't ever make it to the sales page? Like, that's how I would start looking at it. And I said, oh boy, have I been there? Yeah, I feel like we all have, unfortunately. It's not a fun place to be. So that is that. Like, you don't have to be special. You don't have to be the one getting the craziest whatever. Like, I would say for the most part, most of my clients that are having like really long-term success in their business, that are doing this year on year, like, they don't give a fuck. If it happens, sometimes we're going to celebrate it. We're going to be like, yay, that's so amazing. Like, crushing industry standard. How cool. But that is like, they're not coming on calls being like, how do I get a 20% conversion rate or something like that? Because it just, they realize it doesn't matter that much. What they need to do is, how do we keep hitting these numbers so that we can replicate this and scale this, and so we know reliably that this is going to work. It's so unreliable sometimes to go way, way, way above and then try to maintain that for like 6 launches. You know, I mean, again, sometimes you'll just do a really great job and absolutely crush that. There's nothing wrong with that. Ride that wave for as long as you can. Like, that's the point of some of this stuff, is like, when you work on it, it will sometimes just naturally take itself. Like this client I was talking about earlier, like, she had done so much previous work on like launching. She knew her audience so well that the momentum of that kind of just took itself with this funnel, and it's going super well. So it's not to say like it can't happen or don't celebrate that or anything. It's just to say, see how unimportant that is, right? You do not need that. It is unimportant to your success. Like, it can be fun. It can be a celebration. It can be really exciting that you're like that good at it and you know your audience that well. Like, fuck yes. And equally, it is not the determiner of your long-term success in business. Your determiner is like, do you continue to have a funnel that is working really well, that you're optimizing the different pieces of when needed, and that you're continually maintaining industry standard around? Like, that will totally change your business, your confidence level, how you operate as a CEO, how neutral you are to this shit. Like, everything works from there. Bonzi said, so true. I once worked on a sales page which wasn't converting much and tweaked it a few times and finally just added FAQs. Made a lot of difference, as they didn't then leave the page with a million questions, which makes decision making so hard. Sometimes it's just one simple tweak. Absolutely. I would say most of the time It's one simple tweak. And that's what's so hard. When we want insane numbers, we think that it has to be an insane tweak, right? We're like, oh my gosh, my funnel is converting at 3% and I want it to be at 10, so I must have to redo the whole thing. You know, like that's how our brain is. When we see a big goal, we want to do big things to get to that goal. And that is one of the hardest parts of business, is we want to do the big thing to get to the big goal, right? Instead of seeing that most of the time the big goal happens because you did a lot of things right, and you made a lot of small tweaks and you didn't overcorrect the whole time, and it snowballed enough to get there. It's like if you think about that snowball rolling down the mountain, right? It's like little at first and then it just picks up more and more and more, and by the time it gets to the end of the mountain, it's huge. But like it didn't even have to change like its speed or trajectory. Like it just kept growing by going down, right? Like that's like what it means to compound. And that's what most of this is. Like it is small tweaks, and it's having almost like the self-discipline and patience to not do these crazy things. I feel like a really good, what's it called? Like parallel to this is always like health stuff. You know, like most of that shit is really simple. It's like, okay, do I just need to like eat a little bit less or a little bit healthier? Or, you know, am I just like kind of low on this vitamin and that's why I'm feeling like such shit? But when it feels so big, we feel like we have to over index that. So then we're like, you know, oh, I need to fast and I need to do this and I need to change everything about how I'm eating and how I'm moving and da da da. And then we get really burnt out on that and we have less results to show for it. That is business, right? That is when we're trying to be special and do the big thing and get the best results and da da da, instead of being like, I could get moderate results. Like, I feel like I'm a really good example of that. It took me 6 years to hit my first $1 million year, right? Who fucking cares? I make $1 million a year. Like, so the fuck what that it took me 6 years to get there. But if I had been like, no, I have to make $1 million in the first 2 years of my business, I guarantee you I wouldn't have a business right now. And I'm not saying that's a bad goal. A lot of my clients have and or have hit that goal, but I'm just saying for me personally with the business model I had, right? Like the one-on-one partnership model, I would have given up if that was the point. But by being like, okay, if I let this build and grow over time and gather some momentum, I can really get there. And I did. Again, it's not wrong to have the goal. I want to make that really clear. Like, I am all about that. But what I think is wrong is when we make the goal to be so beyond, right, that then we end up fixating on certain pieces of it instead of seeing the big picture, or instead of being like, yes, I can hit this really big goal with these tweaks, right? And I believe in that, and I see that, and I see how the numbers play out for that. Like, that's really the point. Yeah, small tweaks can lead to really big changes. Exactly. Okay. What else do I have to say about this? Let me look at my notes. Oh, the one other thing I just want to say here is, like, again, I think this can sometimes be confusing in our space, and I know I certainly can be a contributor to this, of like, I will share when my clients are getting insane conversion rates because I'm so excited for them and so proud of them, but don't take the sharing or the celebration to mean that that is what is required to have success, right? Like, I know a lot of people that have incredibly successful businesses and funnels off 5% total conversion, and they're making a lot of money. Okay. These, like, but like, again, as always, this is my constant, pervasive, never ending messages. Two things can be true at once. Like, we can make this awesome, and it can be so cool when we're special, and it can be so amazing when, like, an example for me of my special is, like, it's so special that I have 800 people on the wait list. I'm so grateful for that. I don't even know what our exact number is now. Probably it's, you know, probably over that at this point, but like, I'm so grateful for that. I will celebrate the shit out of that. That makes me feel so special. I love it. And equally, right? It's really not important for my overall results. I could have 800 people on there, or I could have 80, and I would still have a business that I could continue to fill one-on-one spots for and sustain and whatever. So it's like so fun and amazing, but I would never tell anyone like, oh, you should shoot for 800 people on your wait list. Like, it's so unnecessary to success. I have it because I have momentum. Like, I've been doing this for a lot of years. And again, it's special and it's great and it's cool and I love it and I'll celebrate it. And equally, it's not that big of a differentiating factor in terms of like, can I fill my spots or not? Obviously it gives me a little bit more choice in terms of like who I'm picking from and whatever, but like even then it's just, 80 people versus 800 is like, I would still have choice, So two things can be true at once. Like, it is so cool to celebrate the special things, and I in no way, shape, or form want to downplay that with this. But equally, I just want you to have in mind what actually matters for success, what actually is going to make the biggest difference, what's going to be your needle movers. And if you truly know and focus on that, and then just let those other pieces be like fun and exciting and celebratory and all of that, like that is when business will feel really, really good. Cool. Okay, Lily had asked a question earlier that I wrote down. She said, I pride myself in my clients converting at high rates, but it's honestly never because, oops, no, that was my note. That was my note. I pride myself in clients converting at high rates, but it's never because we're trying for it. That was my note. Okay. Lily said, I think as a beginner, what I have trouble with selling higher ticket programs is thinking probably my audience can't afford that. I'm serving physical therapists, not the highest paid job. How do I get past that? I think this is a really similar thing to this. Like, what is quite standard in your industry? And again, not that you have to like make that mean everything, but it's like, if a lot of programs in your space are, insert thing, $500, you either need to be like, oh, I'm more than that because XYZ delivery makes sense and I want to target the people who want that or that makes sense for, or you go, oh, well, if that's kind of standard in our industry, I don't have to go way above that. I get to like make a program that like meets that and, figure out what I want my business model to be based on that. But like, I think sometimes we really get one way or the other. Like a lot of coaching will be like, stop thinking that they can't afford that. Like that doesn't matter. Do what you want. Or people will be like, well, only charge what they can afford. And it's neither. It's like, what is most important to you? If you're like, my program is, 4 times as much as industry standard, great. Market to why. Like, why is it so amazing? What problem does it solve for them that no one else can? Like, get really in the weeds with that. Or equally, you're like, this is just what our industry is, kind of at. Like, I think, therapy is a great example of this too, right? Like some therapists doing private pay charge $250 an hour, some charge $100. Plenty of people pay $250 if that's who you want to lean into and market for. And equally, there's like a standard range where like probably a therapist charging $1,000 an hour might be more challenging in terms of like finding the right clients, but they also might decide like that's worth the challenge. There's no right or wrong, like there's not. It's just really like, what is your angle in the market? And like, how can you like kind of go all in on that and bet on that and not be upset about the trade-offs of that? Like if your program is 4 times more than industry standard, of course there's trade-offs to that. Like you're going to have to do a little bit more work there, but like if that's the trade-off you're willing to accept, it doesn't matter, Do you share profit margins or how much do you get into that with clients? Percent conversion or whatever metric can be cool, but how much someone is keeping is so relevant and also high. Yeah. I mean, totally. Like I talk profit margins with clients all the time. Equally, I don't think like every time someone shares a win, they should have to share I'm not saying that you're saying that, Adrienne. I'm just giving my overall thoughts. Like, I don't think they should have to like context that win with everything about that. But like, yeah, that's a huge part of conversation with clients is profit margins. I mean, I think the main core of what I see myself as doing, or I think it's even my Instagram bio, is like build a business that feels as good as it looks. To me, part of a business that feels good is good profit margin, right? And honestly, part of building a funnel that meets industry standards on all angles is that you have a good chance at having good profit margins on that, right? If you're like, we're spending a ton of money on ads on a funnel that just isn't working, your profit margin is going to be shit, even if you can like get some sales out of that. So yes, certainly I think that's part of the conversation. But again, I think that it's not like we can have these special wins without having to like context or whatever that. And also like, of course that's going to make such a huge difference in terms of how all this feels. And equally, it's why we pay attention to it like this. It's why we're like, hey, does the math? Do these numbers make sense? If we're getting these conversion rates across the board, or I mean these industry standard rates across the board, then we are much, much, much more likely to be having good profit margin from that. Going off that student client success rate, that's my personal biggest success metric along with retention. Yeah, totally. I mean, Obviously, like, same in the sense that like my business is literally tied to client success. And equally, I think that's important to say, like, my business is literally tied to client success, and I make money because my clients make money, and I'm still telling them, don't shoot for these well above industry standard things. Like, it's I'm not doing it because I like don't want them to make good money. I'm doing it because like equally I really believe that's why they will. So yes, profit margin is part of that, but like I think knowing your numbers and knowing like, oh, our funnel converts at X reliably instead of just trying to shoot for this crazy thing is actually what lets you know how much money can you put into that funnel. How many people do you need to hit the number you want in terms of the money you want to take home, et cetera, et cetera. So 100% part of it. Cool. Anybody else have any burning questions on this? Remember, as always, if you were here and left a comment, you're entered to win a $100 gift card or any of our products, because I am grateful to you for listening to me blab for 45 minutes and just getting to engage. Like, it's so fun to hear your pieces and your things. Like, there's always a different angle. I wouldn't have talked about profit margin if Adrian hadn't asked that, or we wouldn't have talked about like the landing page versus sales page thing if Lily hadn't asked that. So anyway, you guys being here and engaging is so valuable and so important. And if you are watching the replay and you have questions, obviously tag me here and happy to answer. But you can be special, you can get special results, and equally those probably won't be the biggest thing that impacts your long-term success. And so grounding into like, what are those standards? Are you meeting them across the board in your numbers? Fixing what needs to be fixed related to that will get you so much momentum and ultimately the like doesn't make sense results you want long term. So I appreciate you guys. I hope you have a beautiful week, and I'll talk to y'all soon. Bye, y'all.